Good afternoon. Thank you for watching, and I hope everyone's well today. It's clear to me that there's two factions of people within Reform UK. You've got the people that just want Tory 2.0. They want a Tory party, they want a Conservative party that is actually conservative, rather than the party as it currently is, which is essentially Liberal Democrats that likes to be elected. That's the first camp. And then you've got the second camp. The second camp are more extreme in their rhetoric, and they want more tangible results, shall we say, than the first 10 do. All right? They want remigration. They want millions upon millions of mass deportations. Now, me personally, I'm in the second camp. I do want remigration eventually, and I do want mass deportations. But I'm more pragmatic in my analysis, and I like to give a bit of balance and a bit of nuance. I am a Reform member or subscriber, as some commenters on my post will tell me I'm not a member, I'm a subscriber. Okay, and I'm a voter as well for Reform UK. The first thing I want to do is anybody who's been born after 1997 has never known a Conservative government. All right, I'm gonna play a video now. This is what passes for a Conservative in 2025, according to the Liberals.
The case that Robert Jenrick in particular has taken a very strident tone, which is almost indistinguishable from Nigel Farage.
Is that the right thing to do?
I wouldn't do it, no.
What has he done wrong if you're criticising his intervention?
It's the tone in which we say things really matters. We're talking about human beings, and they may well have come illegally, and some of them may be of people of ill intent. But it's really important when we discuss people, we leave room for the innocent majority, even if they've crossed the channel into a boat.
I think, is the moral leadership.
We have to ask ourselves, how fragile is civilization? I'm afraid I believe that civilization is a bit more fragile than it's generally appreciated. And it's quite important that political leaders try to diminish tensions whilst simultaneously engaging with genuine concerns of the public.
That passes for a Conservative in 2025. Now, if anyone doesn't know, he's a Tory Liberal, he's a West. His name's Steve Baker, and he had a bit of an issue with being targeted by Islamists in the past few years. Minister followed by pro-Palestinian activists use security device to alert police. And that's the Liberal. All right, they are all over the place. They are all over the country, and they don't see a problem with mass migration. They see the problem as you. You're the problem. All right, and then we look on to what passed for a Conservative when I was growing up. So I'm going to play this clip now.
Illegal immigrants, those who are illegal immigrants, will be returned, and it is customary international law for countries to receive their own immigrants back into their country. And if he is, right honourable gentleman is suggesting that we ever get to a position when you cannot return illegal immigrants to their country of origin, then he is proposing international chaos.
That's what passed for the Tory in the 80s, all right, when I was growing up. See the difference between the two churches and the Conservative Party. This is the square that people on the right need, the circle that needs squaring, or the squaring of a circle. However, yes, that's the difference between the two factions in the Tory Party. Now, the situation that we've got as a movement, both the Reform grassroots and the broader right of centre politics, we have to play the game as it is, not as we want it to be. I know that sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I honestly believe that. The Liberals that run the legacy media, they are declining in power. Day by day, less people are watching legacy media channels. I'm talking Channel 4, I'm talking BBC, I'm talking ITV. But they're still there currently. And there's a lot of people in the country that do not watch alternate media, that aren't like me and aren't like you. This is where they get their information from. And this is the issue that we have. And then we look into the final clip. This is the Archbishop of York. He's another Liberal.
There's people who are saying policy should be, you land here unlawfully, you get locked up. and you get deported straight away. No ifs, no buts.
Well, I'd say to them, you haven't solved the problem.
We have solved the problem. They're not landing on our shores. Get your own house in order, then deal with the world. That's the issue that the liberal mindset doesn't quite grasp. It feels like it needs to be a moral arbiter for the universe. No, you need to get your own house in order. If you can't look after your own house, then you can't look after a country. And if you can't look after a country, you can't look after the world as priorities. Sort yourself before all and sundry. It's as simple as that. My last tenner in my pocket, do you think I'm going to give it to my neighbour or the stranger if I need to put lecky in the lecky meter? Of course not. Not going to happen. It's that simple mindset. And this is what I think Nigel, for all his faults, understands.
You've put it somewhere else, and you've done nothing to address the issue of what brings people to this country. And so, if you think that's the answer, you will discover in due course that all you have done is made the problem worse. So don't misunderstand me. I have every sympathy with those who find this difficult. Every sympathy, as I do with those living in poverty.
He has every sympathy for those living in poverty. Remember that. This guy, the Archbishop of York, lives in Bishop Thorpe Palace in Yorkshire. This is his grace and favour house. If you can call it a house, it looks more like, well, a palace than anything else. And he's one of the highest ranking clergy in England. This is what they're protecting. This is what the Liberal is protecting. They're not protecting the vulnerable immigrants, the illegals. They're not protecting them. They're protecting their cushy setup. Alright? If the Liberal wasn't in the cushy setup, it would be a Conservative in the cushy setup, or someone on the right of centre. That's what they're protecting. That is the aim and their goal.
But I don't think we should actively resist the kind of isolationist, short-term, knee-jerk.
Isolationist, short-term, knee-jerk reactions. These were the same types of broad, sweeping statements that were used during the Brexit referendum. If you don't want to be part of a supranational organisation that has charge of your trade policy, then you are isolationist. No, not at all. That's like saying, why would you ever leave home? Why would you ever not live at home? Why would you want to isolate yourself? Why would you not want to be part of a collective?
Send them, in this case, send them home.
Let's put a name on it. Is that your message to Mr. Farage?
This is what they do as well. And you'll notice this in the media. They will paint Nigel Farage as a big, bad bogeyman. They don't mention Ben Habib. They do not mention Rupert Lowe. Unlike other people in Reform UK that will say Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe are nobodies. No, they're not. Not a syllable regarding their political rhetoric has come out of their mouths that I don't agree with. The only thing I don't like, they do have personal access to grind against not necessarily the grassroots or Reform UK as a movement, but against the leadership. Now, people can argue that that's a fair critique. They can vent their spleen. We have free speech in the UK. But for me personally, I see that as counterintuitive and counterproductive. For all its faults, Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe should not want to upset the grassroots of Reform UK. A lot of people, myself included, do not like being called stupid, dumb, and taken for fools. These are the largest, biggest arguments that opponents of Reform UK, both on the left and the right, will throw at Reform. People don't like that. This is the same type of rhetoric that was used on the Brexiteers when we voted to leave the European Union. And that's why that doesn't sit well with me. And I think, as I say, there's so many things going on the left. Look at Angela Rayner and her dodging stamp duty. Look at all these issues on the left. You'd be much better served attacking your actual political opponents than throwing dirt at your own side. That's just my view. To counter what he's saying here, Nigel Farage is not the worst thing that can happen. He is very much the lesser of all the evils that could happen according to the liberal mindset, but they need to big him up as the big bad man. And they need to do that because they cannot envisage anything worse than Nigel Farage.
Well, it is. I mean, Mr. Farage is saying the things he's saying, but he is not offering any long-term solution to the big issues which are convulsing our world.
Because it's not really our problem. You can say it's our problem if you want to wax lyrical and you want to get on your soapbox and say this is how you do it. But if your own house isn't in order, which our house isn't in order, and you're not looking after your own people, many people would be inclined to say you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Which leads to this. I see no other way.
So I'm going to leave that one there, and that's the circle that you need to square. Alright? What I would say regarding Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, and this goes back to why Farage was brought back into the political fray last year. Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe didn't understand the assignments. And the assignment for Reform UK was to hold the Tories' feet to the fire and to replace the Tories if the Tories don't listen. They were meant to be an actual Conservative party in the mould of classical Thatcherism from the 80s, which both Tice and Farage are, than anything more extreme than that. The political judgment, in my view, was made to expel Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib from Reform UK, because they fell into the second tent, which is the more extreme, the right, more further to the right than even Thatcher was in the 80s. That is why they were ejected, in my view. The issue is, now that Elon Musk has backed Advance UK, this is the issue that Farage has, this is the issue that the Reform movement has. I can envisage in the next Parliament that Advance UK could be with Reform UK were it this election. They could get a beachhead in Parliament, they could get half a dozen, maybe a dozen MPs. They could do that, they could achieve, of course they could. There's some people that say that Reform UK have got the next government. I mean, if you look at current polling, they're like 35%. That's more than Labour, and they got over 400 MPs in the last election, 35% of the vote. Labour only got 34% of the vote, and they got over 400 MPs. So if you've got 35% of the vote, you're going to get a few more. Alright? There's some people that think Reform are going to get the next government, and you're going to have either the Lib Dems in second place, or Advance UK in the second place. And you could even see a position where the SNP, which only field MPs in Scotland, actually get more MPs than a UK-wide party like the Tories. It's all very exciting stuff from my point of view. As somebody on the right, I am here for it. I'll throw the Lib Dems in actually. None of the three major political parties are fit for purpose. You've got Ed Davey thinking he's making some sort of sweeping statements because he's not going to a state banquet with the presidents of the free world. No one cares. I don't care. The only reason I know who you are is because I'm a political junkie. This is the level of debate that we've got in the United Kingdom, and it's awful. And this is what people who would critique Reform UK would always say, is that they're just going to be more of the same. Well, no, because we've not had what they're offering since at least the 1980s. People can say that won't solve many of the problems. If it solves one or two of the major issues that we've got, like getting rid of the DEI nonsense, streamlining the NHS to make it more effective, get rid of all the management, or the middle management, actually put boots on the ground, to use military speak, and actually staffing the NHS the way it should be, then we're going to be in a better position than we are now. Detaining and deporting all illegal migrants as well. If you land on these shores by an illegal means, you do not get to stay. Some of these basic things should be done day one of the Reform government. Many people, like me, want them to go further and faster and harder. Who doesn't like that? Of course. There's always room for improvements. And with Advance UK, again, I will not critique people on my side of the aisle because it's wasteful and it's hateful and I don't understand the point of it. I will say I like Ben Habib because I do. I will say I like Rupert Lowe because I do. I like James McMurdoch. There's one or two Tories that I've always liked. David Davis, I've always liked David Davis, and I've always liked Sir Ian Duncan Smith. Two Conservatives that I'm sure many people imagine I could get behind. If the entire Tory party was filled up of your Duncan Smiths and your David Davises, Reform UK would never have been needed. The biggest mistake that the Tories did, was they went with Blairism. They increased the national debt, and they've left us in a worse economic position than Labour did in 2010, and I think that's the first time ever that a Tory government has done that. So Farage is the correcting force that can steer the shift back to actual conservatism in the United Kingdom. Many people that came after me do not know that what a conservative government's going to actually do because they've never actually had one. They look at Farage and think, oh, he's just going to be like, I don't know, like Liz Truss and Canny. No. I think it's going to be more extreme than many, many people will admit, and I'm here for it. My opinion is Advance UK will gain traction now that they've got the backing of Musk, but just be aware of who the real enemy is. As always, I appreciate your time. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video later on today. You have a good day, and Team England and Team Britain, that's what I say. And Northern Ireland, of course.